Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We have an RSBN doubleheader today. President Trump, of course, to speak with Elon Musk at the Oval Office. We'll bring that to you live in just a bit from now. And then, of course, it is also Rally Day in America. RSBN host Megan Kohler, there live in just a bit. We'll have a new stream after this stream concludes here with the president and Elon. And then we'll start that Rally Day in America coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for streaming in. A lot of people jumping on the stream right now and throughout the day, especially for this one, to see President Trump and Elon Musk at the Oval Office live. And then the new stream that will start right after this one, where it's Rally Day in America. Again, U.S. Steel, very happy to see President Trump in attendance tonight. His speech is at 5 o'clock. We'll have it here for you. We're going to hear from We the People as well outside the venue in West Mifflin, right outside of Pittsburgh. So looking forward to hearing from Western Pennsylvanians, a great state with a lot of great people in it. There are a few that aren't so great, but we know that we won that state big time in 2024 and, technically kind of, 2020 as well, but definitely in 2016, 2017. So looking forward to our RSBN doubleheader. Thanks again for streaming in. If you want to let your friends and family know that you can watch President Trump twice today. One will be at 1:30 here at the Oval Office in Washington, D.C., and then we'll travel all the way to Western Pennsylvania, where our crews are as well. Well, we will have live coverage there of this great rally coming up. So prior to that, we will be giving you all the live information that we have here as we follow a lot of different news stories that are happening out there, including the White House Deputy Chief of Staff of Policy. Stephen Miller spoke outside the White House some time ago. We'll get that and air that for you. It's about 15 minutes. And as you guys have grown accustomed to with Stephen Miller now, being a very effective communicator to the America First agenda, just like President Trump, just like Carolyn Leavitt, and all of the cabinet leaders. But to hear from Stephen Miller as well, always good, right on point, and very informative. Just like a national interview yesterday, unfortunately, after he made all these great points, the host just said, "Thank you, Stephen," and moved on. When so many great points are being made, how do you not react and realize that this is really real stuff? This isn't just playing TV to have a great person on and interview them and then that's it. This is real life. We really are dealing with a lot of very serious situations in this country. So very glad you're choosing conservative media. And today, of course, we'll see the president ×2, RSBN doubleheader. Let's go to a number of great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's start out with allfamilypharmacy.com. So allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You'll get that 20% off. All you have to do is go to that website, select whatever medications you'd like. If you want amoxicillin or hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, methylene blue, there's so many choices. More than 200 essential medications right there at your fingertips. You can order in bulk. You can order one or two of them. Always good to do it. RSBN20, the promo code there. And this sale goes up until the end of June, but it's time to get it now because it's not always going to be 20% off. So it's a great deal right now with All Family Pharmacy. Let's shift over to our next sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Colonial Metals Group. Of course, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. So if you want a free info kit in the mail all about gold and silver, this is the place to do it, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You see the QR code there as well. Of course, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold, 100% tax-free with Colonial Metals Group. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. One more for right now, Angel Paste, of course, out of Spring, Texas. Great sponsor here at the network. Great products. There's one of them right there that you see on your screen. You can also peruse the website, angelpaste.com. Check out whatever you'd like. And if you'd like to purchase, all you have to do is use an RSBN promo code. You get a percentage off there as well. All right, so it is 12:38, Friday, May 30th. Today is the 130th day of President Trump's administration. So great to see the past 4 months go so well. Looking forward to a lot more over the several years to come here with this president and this team, this great cabinet that he has, as people are looking for more transparency, more truth, more law and order, justice being served, and all of that. It's all happening right now, and we look forward to more as we continue to cover one of the greatest presidents of all time outside of George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Abraham Lincoln. So A lot of history in the making every day, literally, with this president, and the fact that he overcame what he overcame in the past 4 years has been quite the ride, and it's going to be great to see him today twice in the Oval Office and then in Pittsburgh for the rally that will have wall-to-wall coverage coming up. We'll hear from We the People in just a bit. In the meantime, let's go to the great Stephen Miller, who just addressed the press outside the White House for about 15 minutes. Let's go to that, and we'll be right back.
So just for everybody, the program that the gentleman's referring to is CHNV, Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, Venezuela. And more specifically, it's the program, this is a very important point because this context is often missing. It's the program that was launched by the Biden administration to fly illegal aliens into the country by aircraft. So when you hear about migrant flights, when you hear about illegal aliens being flown into the country, there were other programs too. They had a flying program, they had a free transportation program for hundreds of thousands of illegals at the border that was run out of DHS and funded by FEMA. They had a separate program for UAC, unaccompanied alien children. But when you think about mostly when people are talking about the migrant flights, they're talking about this program, the fly-ins for these illegal aliens. About 500,000 illegal aliens from those 4 countries, particularly in the last 2 years of the Biden administration, were flown directly into American cities and towns. So, of course, we revoked those, they called it parole for those individuals, amnesty basically, and now, of course, they're all subject to deportation from the United States. And, of course, self-evidently, of course, they have to be deported. You can't have a situation where the Biden administration can fly in 500,000 illegal aliens in the last 24 months, and we're having a conversation about, oh, maybe they should get to stay for life. They've been here for 24 months. They were flown into our country illegally, and the good news is the airplanes travel in 2 directions. Next question.
What's the Stephen, can you just comment on the president's post this morning on China? He didn't specifically say what they did wrong. What did China do wrong?
It's a great question and a very valid question. I'm going to let the USTR, the trade rep, Jameson Greer, as well as Secretary of Commerce and Secretary Lutnick, provide more detail on that. I know that's not exactly the answer that you want, but I will speak at a high level to the fact that China has abrogated the agreement. The United States acted immediately and in good faith, as of course you all saw, with the proclamation adjusting the tariff rate. China did not fulfill the obligations that it made and committed to with the United States. And so that opens up all manner of action for the United States to ensure future compliance. It remains the president's hope and desire that China will choose the path of cooperation, of common ground, and that we can open up China to American business, just in the same way that America, of course, as we all know, has been open to Chinese business for a very long time now. And so hopefully China will choose the path, to use a very common bureaucratic phrase, of rules-based conduct, not a phrase I often use, but it applies here, and follow the agreement that they reached. Next question.
How quickly must China respond? How quickly must China respond to the president's demands until that action is taken?
Yeah, well, again, as I mentioned, China often says that it believes in the exact phrase of the rules-based international order, right? We've all heard that phrase from China over and over again. This is the chance to show it's serious about upholding that commitment to the rules-based international order. And as soon as possible is the best answer I can give you. We want to see them comply with their agreements with the United States and fulfill their obligations so that we can have, again, a relationship that is cooperative and that is constructive, which is what the president wants.
Stephen, could you share more information about the person who was impersonating Chief of Staff Susie Wiles? The FBI is now investigating that. Can you share any
I don't have any information on that. I apologize.
On the new visa restriction policy
Yes.
that will apply to foreign nationals that, according to the U.S. government, are censoring Americans through social media, for example. From your perspective, is this something that is happening in Latin America?
Well, there are examples, for example, in Brazil of fairly significant restrictions that have been imposed on the free speech rights of Americans. But
would you mention someone in specific?
But just as a general matter, this represents the United States' continued commitment to restoring free speech and fighting censorship. It was one of the big issues in the election, and we're going to fulfill and follow through on that commitment.
Can you talk about the China student visa restrictions? Is this something the U.S. is planning on doing long-term, and it would apply to all students long-term, not just some specific subjects and those who are committed?
Well, the State Department is putting that in place right now, so I don't want to get ahead of Secretary Rubio in how exactly that's going to be developed. So details to come. But as a general matter, the policy is going to be that we're not going to be awarding visas to individuals who have a risk of being engaged in any form of malign conduct in the United States, which of course would include espionage, theft of trade secrets, theft of technology, or other actions that would degrade the security of our industrial base. At the same time, there's a deeper issue here too. J.D. Vance has spoken about it as well, about that we don't do enough in this country to reward and celebrate American genius. You know, we in the 20th century, during a period of very low migration, led the modern world in everything: aviation, space flight, technology, national development, medicine, everything, using our own genius here in this country. And so, of course, we want to have an immigration policy that allows, just as we did during the World War II era, people have specialized knowledge to be able to contribute to our national economic security. What we can't do is have a system that deprives Americans of an opportunity to contribute to their own country. And we can't have a policy in America where every citizen of this country, whether looking for a job, whether looking for housing, whether they're looking for a government benefit in a time of need, has to compete with all of planet Earth. Because then you're not a nation anymore. At that point, you're just a world economy.
Steve, are you considering taking actions against other universities in addition to Harvard? What does that process look like? And have you been in touch with any of the other schools' leadership about what they need to do to avoid such repercussions?
Well, so obviously Harvard has been engaged in the most pernicious conduct of any of the universities. They defied a lawful subpoena from DHS. They're engaged in a pattern and practice of invidious race-based discrimination, illegal gender and sex-based discrimination. They failed to comply with the Supreme Court ruling in Students for Fair Admissions. And that's just the beginning of the examples of Harvard's perfidy and unlawful conduct. But the administration is, as you know, looking back to our very first executive orders, is going through a compliance process with all of America's institutions of higher learning and K through 12 to ensure rigorous compliance with our nation's civil rights laws, in particular Title VI and VII and Title IX. So that's protections against racial discrimination and protections against sex-based discrimination. And so if a university, for example, is discriminating against white men, or is discriminating against Asians, or is discriminating against Indians, or is discriminating against people for being straight, or is discriminating against, say, a girl or a woman in the K through 12 and a girl, a woman in the collegiate context, for in sports or in access to private facilities, all of that conduct is unlawful, and all of it will have to be addressed with the appropriate remedy.
Did this White House have concern about drug use by Elon Musk?
The drugs that we're concerned about are the drugs pouring across the southern border. Next question.
Are the negotiations still going on?
Well, as you know, we received an almost immediate stay from the Federal Court of Appeals, and the tariffs are fully in effect. Also, all nations know that the president has vast authority in the trade space given to him by Congress. I mean, these are laws that you all know well, Section 301, Section 232. There are numerous statutes that give the president authority to conduct trade, because trade is a core element of national security and foreign policy. It's why the Congress has given the president those authorities. So nations all around the world understand that they are required to continue these negotiations with the United States in order to avoid tariffs. And they all understand that.
And would you talk about Elon Musk and his...
Oh, sorry, behind you, yes. There's a question behind you. Yep, sorry.
Just real quick, would you describe...
He went like a little bit for like 5 seconds. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
The RFK Jr. report had 7 citations citing academics that turned out to be fake. Did that live up to the standards of the U.S. government? Are there new procedures in place or any accountability for that?
No, I don't believe that's true, but even regardless, the reality is that what has been fake for generations now is the medical and nutrition advice that so much of this government has been giving our families. And, we saw, of course, during COVID with like fake rules about from the so-called experts about masking and social distancing and everything else, or pretending that there's the same risk profile for a healthy 4-year-old kid as an elderly and obese person. The Maha report is the most significant and important breakthrough moment in terms of prioritizing prevention, underlying health, answering and asking the right questions. Why are there such persistently high rates of pediatric cancer in this country? And why have they increased so significantly since 1970? Why are pediatric cancer rates so much higher in the developed world than the developing world? Why do you even have a concept called diseases of civilization? I think you've all heard that concept before, right? Where in the most developed countries, you have such high incidences of cancer, of immunological disorders, right? In other words, things like celiac disease, food allergies, eczema, psoriasis, gut disorders. You have so many quality of life disorders that can actually be crippling and debilitating, right? In other words, some of these disorders can completely degrade in the person's entire quality of life permanently with no known cures. They can treat these things with, like Crohn's disease, for example. They can treat these things with steroids. They can try to mitigate the symptoms, but there's no path out for millions of Americans. What is causing young babies in this country to have these crippling allergic reactions or immune systems that don't fire properly? They underreact to certain illnesses. They overreact to other illnesses. And we don't see these same things in the natural world and other primates. And so the report, which took just such extraordinary courage, and I'm so grateful to Bobby, in talking about the chemical load in our society, the chemical load that a child accrues from the day they're born, in terms of everything that they touch and interact with in the world, the complete denuding of our food supply, in other words, the eradication of all living things, all natural things from our food supply in the form of these ultra-processed foods, so that children are living a life where they're not having access to anything natural, they're not having access to anything that's healthy. Everything they do have is loaded up with insane amounts of sugar. For years, I still think it's the case. If you went to like a store and you looked at baby food, it's filled with sugar. Why are people putting sugar into baby food? And how many children's snacks, right, are filled with dyes, artificial ingredients, and massive amounts of sugar? What is this doing to a young body from the day they're born? Combined again with all the chemical exposures, the incredibly accelerated growth and compression of the overall vaccine schedule from even when I was a kid. Parents have questions. They want to know, why do their kids have these chronic health conditions? Why do they go to the hospital when they're sick? Instead of just, in other words, they have like a common cold. Why is it sending them to the hospital? Why is their immune system firing wrong? Why is it that that foods that people have eaten for thousands of years are suddenly causing these crippling allergies in children? Why is it these high and persistent rates of obesity that is no precedent in history amongst our young people? What are the effects and the cost to our healthcare system over time when you have these high rates of chronic illnesses, heart disease, obesity, lung disease, asthma? Like, what are the effects of these on a society, both financially, personally, quality of life? Why is it that a person from the developing world has a lower cancer rate than an American does? I mean, on average, right? But within a single generation, their family has the exact same cancer rate, likelihood of getting cancer, as the American population. These are questions that no one has wanted to ask or explore or assess, and thank God that Bobby is doing so. I have time for one last question.
Has President Cole planned to call or meet with Chinese leadership?
No updates on that, so I'll take one more question.
One more question on Iran. Just a follow-up question. Does the administration already have an internal procedure on how to identify foreign nationals who are acting in that way regarding the visa restriction announced?
But just say that.
How to identify those individuals?
Yes, so the State Department, under the leadership of Secretary Rubio, is putting in place a system to ensure that anyone who enters this country, but particularly for longer-term immigration benefits, things that have a pathway to a green card or a pathway to citizenship, right, the holy grail of the U.S. immigration system, putting in place a protocol, both in terms of the interview process, the documentary process, the social media process, of making sure that anybody that is admitted to this country, and again in particular for these longer-term benefits, is somebody that is going to be supportive of our values, of our way of life, that's going to assimilate, that's going to integrate into our national culture, that's going to be financially self-sufficient. Look, you should never have harmful migration, ever. There should never be a case where somebody's coming into this country who has a negative view about America, about the West, about our civilization, isn't going to be able to pay their own way, is going to have a hostile attitude about the way we live in this country. Like, why would any society, why would any civilization that actually wants to preserve itself allow for any migration that is negative to the country as a whole. And so I applaud Secretary Rubio for taking the steps he needs to make sure that America delivers for Americans. Thank you.
Was the White House aware of Elon Musk?
The White House Deputy Chief of Staff of Policy, the rock star himself, Stephen Miller, outside addressing some questions from the press, as today is an RSBN doubleheader. Of course, we're going to see President Trump and Elon Musk from the Oval Office at the White House. And then after this broadcast, we'll be starting a new stream that you can watch, which is Rally Day in America out there in Pittsburgh. So RSBN host Megan Kohler speaking with a number of great patriots out there outside of Pittsburgh near West Mifflin as we get ready to see President Trump twice today, one in Washington, D.C., and then just a few miles to the west out there in western Pennsylvania. All of this brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Kalshi.com/RSBN. What will Trump say at his rally today? Manufacturing, energy, inflation. These are all sorts of things that you can bet or trade on Kalshi.com/RSBN. It's not only politics, there's sports, technology, faith, weather, whatever you really want to talk about on there. It's a pretty interesting site. They also have an app, Kalshi.com/RSBN. You also see at the bottom who will win the Pro Men's Basketball Championship. Also, the NHL's out there, so a lot of champion games going on. Let's shift over to Colonial Metals Group as well. freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website to go to. If you're looking for an info kit free about gold and silver, Colonial Metals Group is the spot to do it. It's a tax-sheltered IRA and 401k, all backed in gold. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. One more sponsor is Brightcore, mybrightcore.com. So Kimchi One is the product here, and it's sold by Kim Bright. This is a person that absolutely loves Make America Healthy Again, and MAGA, of course. And this product here is all about a probiotic, a gut health, immune support. It'll help with anti-aging properties. And there's two ways you can save money here. One, will give you 25% off by going to the website. And then you can save 50% off if you simply call 888-722-0936 after you order a product there. Some great products right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll be talking more about our sponsors in just a bit as you're taking a live look at the White House. Again, it's 12:56, Friday, May 30th, just reaching the top of the hour here momentarily, as today is the 130th day of President Trump's second administration. Great to see him today at the Oval Office in just a bit, and then we'll see him again on the next stream live from Western Pennsylvania. So glad you're with us. We have some details to dive into about U.S. Steel and what this is all about a bit later. And also, of course, we monitor all of the news of the day and really kind of keep things fresh in the sense of whatever's live, whatever's happening now, you'll see it right here on Right Side. Also, the U.S. Coast Guard actually just posted something about a interception there, an interdiction of a number of narcotics. We have that video for you. We'll play it right after this commercial break. This is RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in. We'll see you in a second.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it has had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 and see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back. Just about the top of the hour here on this Friday, May 30th. Thanks so much for streaming in wherever you're watching, specifically Rumble as well. If you follow our channel on there, we have more than 500,000 subscribers just on Rumble alone, that number increasing. And those of you watching on other social media platforms and other streaming services, thank you so much for streaming in. As soon as the president and the former leader of Doge, Elon Musk, will be at the Oval Office, as soon as we see that feed, we will go there live. And it will be really must-watch TV. That's why a lot of you are streaming in today. And of course, after the stream, we'll have the Rally Day in America in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where President Trump will be delivering a speech later. Our RSBN host, Megan Kohler, is actually interviewing a number of We the People outside of the venue as we speak. So we'll be bringing all that coverage to you in the next broadcast. Now, let's shift gears to the Coast Guard. Let's actually back up and go to the whole entire military, because everyone really involved in this southern border mission, literally everybody from Coast Guard to Navy, Marines, the Army, even the National Guard and others. I mean, everybody's doing a great job there. And this just yesterday at Port Everglades, we're told that the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Thetis, the crew there, offloaded more than 28,500 pounds of cocaine worth an estimated $211 million. Here's that video from just yesterday. The camera crew out there getting creative. I mean, these are military videos from the Department of Defense. That was specifically from the U.S. Coast Guard just yesterday, offloading all of those narcotics. They also intercept, illegal aliens and people that are just up to no good trying to get into our country. Of course, the southern border, through the big, beautiful bill as it would be passed through the Senate, and the president would sign that, would mean more pay for Customs Border Protection agents. It would also mean a 15% decrease for all of us that make anywhere from $30,000 to $80,000 a year in taxes. There's so many things in that big, beautiful bill, including finishing the border wall, all of the money to do that. So there's a lot going on there. We're going to monitor that from the U.S. Senate as people are calling their senators saying, hey, this is what we want. We, the people, of course, voted for President Trump, and we want his agenda. We believe in what he's saying, and the promises made, promises kept. Always great to see it happen. And today, a great speech to be had today in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, of course, for Rally Day in America. We'll be getting to that in just a minute. Now, I follow a number of interesting, great people on Truth Social. I love Truth Social, and Cat Turd said, why do fake news media clowns even attempt to try to take on Stephen Miller? It's the truth. That's a great statement there from Cat Turd. Why do fake news media clowns even attempt to take on Stephen Miller? I don't know how they do it or why they would do it. And that's the same thing with President Trump. When you bring a falsity or you bring something that is spun to a lie and you bring it to the truth, you can't win that argument when you have common sense and truth. the American people on your side, the leader of the free world on your side, as Stephen Miller does. So it's a great point there by Cat Turd once again. There's also something that we did yesterday. We just started it just for a little bit of fun, but more of a shout out to those of you watching throughout the country, which all 50 states have watched RSBN, and maybe all 50 states are represented today. I believe usually, especially in these bigger broadcasts, you guys are watching from all 50. So yesterday we did the first of 5 days of 10 state shout outs. So yesterday we did 10 states. Today we're going to do a shout out quickly to 10 more states. So the next one up, Hawaii. Hopefully a number of people are watching out there. Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, and also it looks like we have how many more states here to do? I think that's it for today. And Maryland. Okay, anyway, so that's probably more than 10 states. I just had a list there. I just quickly glanced at. But thank you guys so much for being loyal viewers to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we get ready to see President Trump ×2 today on this RSBN doubleheader. All right, let's go to a number of sponsors, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can save 20% on things like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue. And if you've never really heard of all of those, I mean, there's amoxicillin and penicillin as well. There's more than 200 essential medications that you can get with allfamilypharmacy.com. Literally, all you have to do is order, and you'll get that in the mail, in some cases overnight. You'll fill out some medical paperwork there. You'll save 20% by using the RSBN 20 code. And if there are doctors out there and pharmacists that just won't fill the prescriptions for ivermectin, which we know there are those kind of doctors, well, you can bypass all that and just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to mypillow.com. If you're preparing for any beach trips or maybe the lake this summer, this is always good to get a great beach sale, 50% off, mypillow.com/RSBN. Hopefully, many of you will be going to the Gulf of America, the Atlantic, the Pacific, the lakes out there. In some cases, if you're going to go tubing on a river, be careful though. I did it once, and I'm not going to do it again. It was in the Colorado River, actually, but that was years ago. But anyway, mypillow.com/RSBN. Also, angelpaste.com, a great website, but great products there as well. The Miracle Cream and other products are there. And if you use the RSBN promo code, you'll get a percentage off here as well. They're out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans, and they're also a longtime sponsor and a great sponsor right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Just a shout out to all of you guys that have been watching since 2015. All of the rallies, all of the remarks, all of the speeches, all of the recent events that we've seen, the campaign trail. You think about seeing RSBN host Robert McNeely and Christina Loren and Megan Kohler, who you'll see later today out there on the campaign trail. I did some of that work too in 22 and 23 with Right Side, and now here a lot more in the studio, but still at the end of the day, being able to show a lot of the live coverage that you guys see from Washington, D.C. and right there at the White House. So that will be what's happening in about 23 minutes from now. Sometimes, when we see a schedule that says 1:30 is a press conference, it might be at 1:40 or 1:50 or whatever time, because it's the leader of the free world. There's some serious stuff going on, right? You got to make phone calls. You got things to make decisions on. Today's press conference, I really think it's going to be very close to 1:30, right on the button. We'll see if I'm right, but we look forward to it. And then again, after this press conference with our president, Donald Trump, and the great Elon Musk, our broadcast will conclude, but then we'll start our brand new stream for Rally Day in America from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the great Keystone State that went to President Trump this past election. It also went to President Trump in 2020, if you know what I mean, and also went to President Trump in 2016. So a lot of red in the great state of Pennsylvania, and where it all started for our country. You think about Philadelphia, Independence Hall, the Constitution. I mean, all of that history, rich history there. If you ever get a chance, if you're in Pennsylvania, to check out, of course, Gettysburg, solemn grounds there, and then get over to Philadelphia to see Independence Hall, just to touch that history. You could actually get a tour of Independence Hall. I did it with my wife just about maybe a year ago. We walked into Independence Hall. It was very powerful to be in there and be like, wow, George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and these guys were in this room right here. Pretty cool stuff. So, and what's really cool is the fact that we have a president and a cabinet that are just as powerful. I mean, President Trump is in the same, names of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson. We saw what he has done for this nation. We're looking forward to hearing from him today in the Oval Office and over in Pittsburgh a bit later today. And his job's not even done. There's a lot of time left to get a lot of things done for this country. So we're rooting him on. We, the people, are behind someone that is a common sense leader. And that's what we want. We're sick and tired of any of the mainstream media junk because they're a voice of not we the people. They're the voice of maybe people that want to destroy the country. Instead, we have an ability here in conservative media to really be a voice for we the people. And also, we are, like myself, I'm part of it too. We're everyday Americans. We're doing this for the country and for freedom. And we know that people like Tommy Robinson out in the United Kingdom, that's a hot button issue to talk about Tommy Robinson, but he's a guy that loves freedom and doing great things. And when if you speak ill against the government and you say something, I'm not talking violent threats, none of that stuff. I'm talking about simple things like, I don't like the way he's running this, or whatever he says, maybe against the woke mind virus that's out there. You get people that show up at your door and you got to deal with a lot of stuff there. That's the stuff we're going against here in this country, and we hope that other countries will follow suit. Places like El Salvador or places like Hungary with Viktor Orban, these are great leaders. And so we have right here the leader of the free world and the leading nation. We are the best nation on earth, and it's great to be a part of it. But we love our friends and allies. We absolutely love Israel. We absolutely love Hungary. We love these countries that are for freedom. So we're hoping for more of it. And we know with people like President Trump and this cabinet, we're going to have more and more freedom in this country. And especially as justice is served for those that broke the law in the past 4 years, maybe some in the deep state, that kind of thing, our 28 and 29, the years 28 and 29, 2028, 29, and the future will be much brighter and safer because right now it's great. We have President Trump in office. Things are even, getting better and better and better. But we're looking forward to even into the future, having this country protected with the Constitution of the United States of America, that continuing to be the law of the land. So really looking forward to a number of things over the next few years. One quickly, I'll just point out, and then we'll tone it down a little bit and get back to our coverage here. But one is the 2026 celebration of our country, the 250th celebration of our country, July 4th of next year. So obviously, RSBN will have a lot of coverage of that, and including on June 14th of this year for the huge Army Grand Parade celebration in Washington, D.C. We'll have all of that coverage right here on that Saturday, June 14th. Of course, it's Flag Day. It's President Trump's birthday. A lot of great patriotic ways of moving forward here at the network. So thanks so much for watching us live right now as it's 1/12, Friday, May 30th. Let's dive into some of the specifics as we await President Trump and Elon Musk to hold this press conference at the Oval Office. This is more for the next stream, but since today is Rally Day in America in Pittsburgh, let's talk a little bit about U.S. Steel. They have a statement on President Trump's leadership, and it reads as follows. President Trump is a bold leader and businessman who knows how to get the best deal for America, American workers, and American manufacturing. U.S. Steel will remain American, and we will grow bigger and stronger through a partnership with Nippon Steel that brings massive investment, new technologies, and thousands of jobs over the next 4 years. U.S. Steel greatly appreciates President Trump's leadership and personal attention to the futures of thousands of steelworkers and our iconic company. Now, a bit of history from U.S. Steel. Founded in 1901, it delivers profitable and sustainable steel solutions. And the statement continues there, but you can see a major corporation, yet another one, praising President Trump for a great job. And for those of you that follow on Truth Social on RSBN, we have more than 2 million now there, more than 1 million on X. Please follow us at RSBN on Truth and at RSBN or at RSB Network on X. But yesterday I posted on my Truth Social a video for Throwback Thursday from President Trump when he was obviously not the president. October 1st, 1986, He had an interview with David Letterman. If you want to check it out, I can't play that video on TV because we don't have the rights to it, but we could use the link on there if you'd like to check it out. But it was great to see President Trump still talking about the same things he's talking about today, saying there's certain things we're doing in our country. This was back in '86. That would make our country a lot of money, but we're not doing those things right now. And I'm thinking, man, the international trade deals, there's one. And then David Letterman asked him about how he tips when it comes to at the restaurants. He says if they do a super job, a great job, they get a big tip. If they do a lousy job, they get a lousy tip, he was saying. He was also talking about some other insight. And David Letterman said, well, do you want to share this with a bigger American platform someday? And President Trump said, well, no, but I just want them to hear the feeling of it so that somebody else can take over and do a great job. And David Letterman said, well, if that person won't do it, maybe you'll have to take care of it. And President Trump laughed at that point, of course, Donald Trump, back in 1986. All right, so I butchered some of the story there. I'm not reading from a teleprompter, but I'm just letting you know that when you hear from President Trump that the way he was then and the way he is now, it's those raw truths are still there. That leadership's there, that natural-born leadership continuing to lead this country. So very glad to see it and glad to cover it here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Really looking forward to seeing RSBN host Megan Kohler live in Pittsburgh coming up on that next stream. So we'll go there in just a bit. All of this brought to you by Kalshi.com/RSBN. Okay, so what will President Trump say at the rally today? There's a few of the options there. You can trade on some of the most important events out there, whether it's science or technology or politics or faith or sports. So many different events that you can bet and trade on. So it's Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, pro men's basketball champion. Who will that be? I mean, will it be Oklahoma City or, it'll cycle through there. Will it be the Knicks or the Pacers? Who knows? I also think we should add the NHL there. I love hockey as well. But let's move on to our next sponsor. In the meantime, Brightcore.com. So mybrightcore.com/RSBN. So if you're looking for probiotics like Kimchi One, this product that you see on your screen, it's all about gut health and immune support and anti-aging properties. 888-722-0936 is the phone number. You'll save 50% on that. And you can save 25% if you go online there to mybrightcore.com/RSBN. One other sponsor here at 1:16 this afternoon on a Friday, Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. We know about those BRICS nations. They try and use their own currencies instead of our dollar. And, some people in the stock market are dropping some stocks and that kind of thing. But the point is, having gold and silver as a backup plan, even though Maganomics is on the rise and inflation's going down, is still always a good idea. Your tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold, 100% tax-free. So all you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You get more information right there. As it is, 1:16 Friday, May 30th. Let's double check a couple posts from President Donald Trump on Truth Social and see if there's any latest information there. President Trump just moments ago saying the Democrat-inspired and controlled Congressional Budget Office purposely gave us an extremely low level of growth, over 1.8% over 10 years. How ridiculous and unpatriotic is that, the president says. They did the same thing to us in 2017, and we doubled their numbers. The information they recently released is even more absurd and indefensible. I predict we will do 3, 4, or even 5 times the amount they purposely allotted to us, 1.8%, and with just our minimum expected 3% growth, we will more than offset our tax cuts, which will in actuality cost us no money. So the president at 12:29, about less than an hour ago, posting that on Truth Social. So always great to see various posts from the commander-in-chief there as we monitor various news stories that are going on out there. We see that President Trump has sent some congratulations to CPAC Hungary, that according to the Gateway Pundit just now, as we're hearing from the Gateway Pundit as well, that not making many headlines, the quote-unquote worthless Fed Chairman Jerome Powell meets with Trump in White House, headline from the Gateway Pundit. So monitoring other news as we go here at the network, including the recent Coast Guard interdiction of more than $200 million worth of narcotics just yesterday in the Everglades. So doing a great job with the military there on the southern border, whether it's the actual land or out in the sea. The Coast Guard and Navy doing a great job. And as I mentioned yesterday, some of our Army is actually creating drones by 3D printing, which is fascinating. I saw the other day there are some other countries that are actually doing that now too, but 3D printing, creating drones along the southern border to double check on what the heck these drug cartel terrorist organizations are doing, as the drug cartels are actually using some drones as well to monitor the military and what we're up to, and seeing if there's any weak spots in the border, which there are none, because the border has been sealed, and it's been sealed for some time now. But the main thing is at this point is ICE doing the deportation operations, and also the narcotics, stopping the drugs from coming into our country the way they are specifically with anything dealing with fentanyl. So that's something, of course, that our Coast Guard and Navy and the Marines and Army and also our National Guard and Customs Border Protection agents and local law enforcement are really taking care of along the southern border. Next up, when you think about the economy, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill that will really decrease the amount of taxes that we'll be facing. Those of us that make $30,000 to $80,000, that's 15% less in your taxes if the big, beautiful bill passes. So it's passed the House. Next up is the Senate, then of course on to President Trump's desk. So there are many, many things as to why it is important for this big, beautiful bill to pass, including the no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Also, it delivers big, beautiful deportations. The bill permanently secures our borders by making the largest border security investment in history. It also will finish President Trump's border wall. You're talking hundreds of miles of border wall will be finished and complete through this big, beautiful bill. It will also boost Border Patrol and ICE agents on the front lines. It empowers immigration authorities to carry out their mission by hiring, get this, 10,000 new ICE personnel, 5,000 new customs officers, and 3,000 new Border Patrol agents. And it would give $10,000 bonuses in each of the next 4 years to agents on the front lines. Well deserving of it, as they just celebrated a couple days ago their 101-year anniversary, doing a great job with Border Patrol. All right, so it's 1:21, Friday, May 30th. Let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense, and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now, I suggest you try Immuno 150 to see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now, consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. It's 1:23 Eastern Time. Thanks so much for streaming in with us as we get ready to see the live feed from the Oval Office. where we'll have President Trump and Elon Musk holding a press conference today. And then, of course, it's an RSBN doubleheader. We'll have another stream live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, specifically West Mifflin, just a few miles southeast of the city of Pittsburgh. So that's where President Trump will be for his speech later this afternoon. Rally Day in America. Thanks again for streaming in live to watch both live events today, as it's an RSBN doubleheader. It's been a while since we've had a doubleheader, tripleheader type of coverage when it comes to the rally events, but looking forward to it today and watching here on Rumble or wherever you're watching live right now on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're getting ready to go to the White House in about 6 minutes from now. And I was looking over some of the main notes that I've taken over the past 4 or 5 months, and they all apply to today. Looking at the 20 core promises to the American people from President Trump and the RNC, and then the first one was to seal the border, the promise made, promise kept. That has happened. And then it goes on about manufacturing in America, and it goes on talking about stopping the weaponization of government. And there are so many key points in that 20 core promises that we continue to monitor here at the network, because we're always looking to see our country be reformed to what it needs to be. And that's what is basically what saving our country is all about. And we see a lot of the corruption in various departments on the way out, or if not already. For many of the cabinet positions, we've already seen great cabinet position leaders doing a great job, as they are an all-star cast of patriots. And there's still, I believe, some corruption in some areas that are going to be found out and hopefully taken out of our government, so we have a healthy, positive government that is really for we the people. And the amount of that happening, non-establishment type of leaders that we have right now are great to see. Obviously, President Trump leading that way there. Florida Representative Ana Paulina Luna announced, of course, months ago, the Federal Secrets Declassification Task Force, which will declassify government secrets. The JFK, RFK, and MLK files, we know that some of those have already been released. The Epstein files, we're monitoring it here at the network. Documents about UFOs, the 9/11 files, the COVID files. We want to know about these details, and also the specific details when it comes to even in Butler, Pennsylvania, with Thomas Matthew Crooks, the whole situation there. Was it really by himself? There's no other connection there? That's stuff to be investigated. Also, we know, shifting gears slightly as we continue to monitor those kind of bigger type stories, but we're always on top of the live events that happen day in and day out. Of course, today we'll be there at the Oval Office with Elon Musk and President Trump there, and we'll bring that to you live. And later today, it'll be great because we'll hear from we the people outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, outside the venue there, as they're getting ready to hear from President Trump a bit later. So I believe we may also have a number of feeds live of Air Force One leaving from DC and heading to Pittsburgh. So if we have that and we're live on the channel, you could watch that with us. If not, most of the time what we do is we'll upload any videos that we get here. So this is really as they say, a fluid situation. It's live, constantly live. So that's why we call this show or this broadcast RSBN Live, as we are live right now and showing you various events as they happen. So about 3 minutes from now is when the scheduled press conference is going to start. And if it's a little late, we'll stand by and wait with you. Charlie Kirk on Truth Social said some pretty powerful stuff. He always has great things to say, but he said this a while ago. He goes, when we voted for President Trump, we voted for RFK Jr. and Maha and Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and Elon Musk and Doge, all of that at the beginning. And this is a 130 days of Elon Musk. And this is, since he was part of the administration for that time, it was the 130-day mark is today, would be the last day. And this is hence why we're seeing what we're seeing today. Now, Charlie Kirk said, we voted for a robust chief executive of the country and his team, not a deep state bureaucracy guarded by legacy media, rogue intel agencies, and activist judges. If you watched yesterday at all, the representative out of Texas, Ronnie Jackson, saying a lot about activist judges, but specifically his post was pretty short, saying Americans voted for Donald J. Trump, not activist judges, speaking on behalf of just the situation where it was judges coming against international trade with President Trump, and also coming against deportation operations. It seems as if some of these judges have backed off from that because they're not going to win that one. You're talking the executive branch. You're talking if it got to the Supreme Court, hopefully they would do the right thing there. But anyway, continuing on in just a second, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN as we approach the bottom of the hour here. You can save 20% on more than 200 essential medications from allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. So you pay less for your prescription medications. You're talking hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, also methylene blue, penicillin, amoxicillin, so many different essential medications, antibiotics there. And there are the different health kits as well. So you can order in bulk, you can order the kits, or you can order maybe 2 or 3 prescriptions that all get sent right to you. You just fill out some medical paperwork there. So it's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go to another great sponsor here, mypillow.com/RSBN, 50% off for the beach sale. A lot of great gear there if you're preparing for a beach trip this summer. Well, this is good stuff, so you might as well get it there if you'd like. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com/RSBN. You'll save with that code, 50% off, and there's more than 2,000 products on mypillow.com. The great Mike Lindell, who overcame so much, hit rock bottom, but turned it around through his faith in Jesus, but also his grit and his courage to do great things and to have a very successful business there, mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, it is officially 1:30, the bottom of the hour. That means this is the scheduled time for the Oval Office meeting between President Trump and Elon Musk. As soon as we see the live feed, we go there live. In the meantime, we'll continue on with some commentary as we stand by, as we wait together to watch this press conference. Now, first of all, just some quick commentary on it. It's always fun to see President Trump in the Oval Office, especially live, and then also Elon Musk together. And this is going to be a great press conference, I'm sure. It's going to be fun to watch. And, when you watch, if you watch other media, mainstream media, or if you're like me and you're kind of a news dork of sorts, and you watch a lot of news and international news, they all talk about President Trump and Elon Musk and Carolyn Levitt and the United States and the trade deals. They just can't get enough of this country. I think it's because we're on to something. We're on to winning, and this is how to win. So, maybe the few globalists that are out there that are trying to control the masses, maybe you go off into the sunset. Let us live. Let us do our thing. Let us be free as we are here in the United States of America. So we're looking forward to hearing from Elon and the president shortly. And then again, after this broadcast, we're going to go live to Pittsburgh for Rally Day in America. We're going to hear from We the People out there. So it'll be just fun Friday coverage for us to watch. We the People have voted for major government reform and common sense leadership. Going over some of the older notes at this point, but it's not old at all because it's still current to this day. Looking at various quotes from President Trump here. Together we will lead America to new heights of greatness like the world has never seen before. Under our leadership, the United States will be respected again. No nation will question our power. No enemy will doubt our might. Our borders will be totally secure. Our economy will soar. We will return law and order to our streets, patriotism to our schools, and importantly, we will restore peace, stability, and harmony all throughout the world. President Trump saying that at the RNC in 2024, soon after the terrible incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, that he overcame by the power and protection of God, but also the grit and just timing and everything together for him to overcome all of that. And when he would speak at these various rallies, he would always end with things like, to make America free again, our military great again, make America strong again, safe again, proud again, healthy and wealthy again. And of course would end it with make America great again. And all of those speeches that he has delivered over the years. I hope he remembers when he's in the Oval Office and the fake news, not all of them are fake news, there's some conservative media in there. But when he's in there taking on these bogus questions, I hope he remembers what he's going to see again today in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We the people are wearing our heart on our sleeve. We love President Trump. Why do we love him? Because he's led the way for freedom. And we have these great cabinet leaders as well. So I hope he remembers that every time he goes to these speeches, but also when he faces what he faces at the Oval Office with the reporters or some activist judges trying to do their stupidity to one-up the leader of the free world. You really can't do that. We, the people, voted for him en masse, so it's the will of the people that really is at stake, and that's what I'm just so proud to be an American because of that we have a leader that is guiding that. But also, the most important thing to me personally is our Constitution, our constitutional rights. Outside of, hey, having a great economy and law and order and justice being served and the southern border being closed and all of the, getting rid of DEI and sticking to what the majority of this country wants. And it's the basics, guys. It's God, family, and country. And it's stuff that we are just going to be raw with here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is common sense and analysis, common sense commentary without a prompter here. It's just coverage that we just like to bring you. Also, really like to bring you what we the people are saying outside of the venue in Pittsburgh. So we'll be doing that in that next broadcast. In the meantime, though, getting ready to go to the Oval Office there. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for streaming in. Let's go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
You've heard how hard it can be to get access to medications like ivermectin, all the things they don't want you to take because they're actually effective and they don't cost all that much, right? You've seen that one before. So it's critical to have something like that on hand for any emergency and to be prepared in a time of crisis. And that's why I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're cutting through the nonsense and they make it easy to get hard to find medications when you need them most. They'll provide the prescription, no hoops to jump through, no waiting room, no hassle, and they deliver it right to your door. All Family Pharma even lets you order in bulk so you can stay ahead of the curve. Head over to allfamilypharmacy.com for 10% off your first order. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com. It's simple. Get the 10% savings. Be prepared.
I'm Elmer Heinrich, the 91-year-old formulator of Immuno 150, an incredible nutritional supplement. There's nothing like it. Now, Immuno 150 is different because it contains 70 plant-derived minerals and 80 other nutrients. Dr. Linus Pauling, known for vitamin C, was instrumental in convincing me to get into the mineral business in 1983. He said the world is sick due to a lack of minerals in topsoil. He said the body needs 60 minerals, but the average food and supplement has no more than 12. That's the reason for Immuno 150. Since its inception, it's had a powerful impact on the lives of thousands of people who could not get any help from various supplements they took or their doctor. Now I suggest you try Immuno 150 and see what 70 minerals, CoQ10, and 80 nutrients can do for you. Look at the 2 videos on our website. Millions have. Now consider placing an order for Immuno 150 online or call our toll-free number. I know you'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back. Looking live at the White House right now, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. As soon as we get that live feed, we will go there to the Oval Office to hear from President Trump and Elon Musk, a press conference inside the highest office in the land, the Oval Office. We'll take you there live momentarily. Speaking of President Trump, just about 5 minutes ago, he posted the following. Upon the request and recommendation of many people, I am hereby terminating the employment of Kim Saget as director of the National Portrait Gallery. She is a highly partisan person and a strong supporter of DEI, which is a totally inappropriate thing for her position. Her replacement will be named shortly. Thank you for your attention to this matter. That's the latest from President Trump right there, letting go of a National Portrait Gallery director and naming somebody new soon. It'll be great to see who that will be for the National Portrait Gallery. So that's from the president just about 5 minutes ago. I'm sure that the cameras are getting ready in there live, so we'll take you there as soon as we can, as soon as we see it here at the network. And it's the same thing with any network, really, when it comes to various live feeds like this. You'll see that no other network has anything inside that office. You'll see it right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, of course, and we look forward to bringing it to you. Just like we've brought a lot of the executive order signings from President Trump. And think about all of the different East Room White House events, whether it's with a foreign leader or bill signing, or how about the No Men and Women's Sports bill signing. There's so many different events. The Rose Garden just a couple weeks back for the National Day of Prayer. That was great to hear from the president talking about his faith and talking about this country. So yeah, there's some real moments that we've shared together right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Some very powerful, great moments since 2015 to this year, 2025, and on. Some very difficult moments, of course, as well here as we covered things live. But, you know, this is a country and a people that we know are going to keep on fighting. We're going to keep on going. And we're going to, you know, with God and with grit, all things are possible. So we're looking forward to seeing the president here with Elon Musk shortly. All right, so President Trump also posting articles about Secretary Wright saying President Trump got elected to lower energy prices, reindustrialize America, bring jobs and opportunity back to our country, and peace abroad. He is pursuing that agenda aggressively. That Secretary Wright saying that to Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business. So that happening just recently from President Trump. And speaking of manufacturing, so U.S. Steel today, when the president is there in our next live broadcast, our next live stream from Pittsburgh for Rally Day in America, a lot of steel workers, of course, will be in attendance at that rally there. And I'm hopefully going to see some Steelers gear there. Of course, it's the Steel City, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And being from Pennsylvania myself and going to college out there on the west side of the state there, you know, here we go Steelers is always a chant you'll hear in Pittsburgh. And surprisingly, in other stadiums all around the country, there are always Steeler fans whenever the Steelers are visiting. And they just travel with just a huge amount of people. I think it has something to do with 4 Super Bowl wins in a row back in the 70s. But definitely great to see it. And my point is, I hope to see those construction hats that are just that have the Steelers logo on each side of it. I think you'll see that today. I really do. And if I'm wrong, it is what it is. It's just a Steeler hat. So yeah, anyway, so that'll be with our host, RSBN host Megan Kohler. She'll be there live, and she's speaking with a number of We the People right now outside of the venue. So as soon as this broadcast concludes, we'll start up another one, and it will be live there in Pittsburgh, and we'll toss to that. Great coverage there we're about to see on this RSBN doubleheader. Of course, this is a Rally Day in America a little bit later today, and then, of course, right now we'll continue our RSBN live coverage with this speech and with this press conference by the president and Elon Musk. I did tell the guys here at the studio that I thought today's press conference would be right on time. Nope, 11 minutes after the start time, so I was not right about that. But what I am right about is that we love God, we love our country, and we love President Trump. So we can stick to the basics. Anyway, let's look at some more Truth Social posts from President Trump, as he's been posting a lot this morning and a lot over the past few days as well. That's something, of course, we always see with the president. He said 5 hours ago the following: 2 weeks ago, China was in grave economic danger. The very high tariffs I set made it virtually impossible for China to trade into the United States marketplace, which is by far #1 in the world. We went in effect cold turkey with China, and it was devastating for them. Many factories closed, and there was, to put it mildly, civil unrest. I saw what was happening and didn't like it. For them, not for us. I made a fast deal with China in order to save them from what I thought was going to be a very bad situation, and I didn't want to see that happen. Because of this deal, everything quickly stabilized and China got back to business as usual. Everybody was happy. That is the good news. The bad news, according to the president, is that China, perhaps not surprisingly to some, has totally violated its agreement with us. And the president ends with the following words on Truth Social about 5 hours ago: "So much for being Mr. Nice Guy," all in caps with an exclamation point. That from President Trump about 5 hours ago. Very entertaining president that we have as well. Thank God we have someone that gets the job done through strength and through the power that we have voted for him to have. And then on top of that, he adds the comedy to it. Always fun to see. And I'm sure he'll have a few fun things to say at today's speech in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. In the meantime, checking on any latest news on X right now. Don't see any major national breaking news stories right now. So it looks like the big story of the day are the following things. Today's press conference with President Trump and Elon Musk, which is slated for 1:30, of course, a bit after that now, so we'll stand by for it. And then later today, when President Trump travels from Joint Base Andrews and Air Force One over to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then down to West Mifflin for this event at U.S. Steel, which again, the coverage will start up right after this broadcast concludes from Pittsburgh. So we'll hear from the people outside of the venue. And then President Trump is slated to speak about 5:15 Eastern time. And we'll bring that to you live right here on Right Side. So a shout out to whoever's watching out there on the West Coast, the Mountain Time Zone, Central Time Zone, and Eastern Time Zone. Thanks so much for streaming in. We're literally doing the same thing right now. We're standing by, waiting for the president to start for this speech, for the press conference with Elon Musk. Now, we did hear yesterday some questions from reporters to Carolyn Levitt about the situation with Doge and what's going on with Elon. And what we're hearing from Carolyn Levitt is that the cabinet members are now taking over when it comes to Doge responsibilities for each of their departments. So they'll continue with Doge. Doge is not going away. It's still something that is happening, the Department of Government Efficiency. And I think today is just a great thing that will happen because we're going to see that President Trump and Elon Musk are friends. And this is, he did a great thing for our country, Elon did. So we'll see what the announcement is, though, if there is any outside of the press conference. But we will have that here for you in its entirety, just like President Trump's speech a bit later today, which is at 5 o'clock Eastern time. So thanks for streaming in. As you look at the bottom of the screen there, it says President Trump says Canada is considering his offer to become 51st state in exchange for a free Golden Dome missile defense shield there with the Golden Dome for America. That was quite the post from President Trump. Hey, you know, instead of paying $60 billion, you could just be the 51st state and we'll just cover you with the dome anyway. You know, it's tongue in cheek. I don't know if it's really going to happen, but will it? I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we are also covering a lot of different stories when it comes to, as you saw on the bottom of your screen there, that President Trump is warning that Putin is playing with fire. Well, at the end of the day there, what we're looking to see is that peace through strength continue. We see President Trump being the negotiator in chief. You know, Carolyn Levitt said that yesterday and called him the negotiator in chief. Isn't that the truth? For the international trade deals, for also the peace deals, he's doing the best that he can do with all of the God-given talent that he has to get the job done. And he has tried and tried and tried with Vladimir Zelensky. He has done the same with Putin through a number of his staff at the White House, whether people traveling to other countries to meet with the Russian authorities there and just to really try and make that war stop. So President Trump and the team doing everything they can. Also doing great in various other items and policy agenda items that we've seen out there. Let's specifically dive back into the big, beautiful bill. We're going to have to stretch our coverage here a little bit right now as it's 1:46 Eastern time. If you joined us yesterday, we had a number of live interviews here on the network as well. Christina Loren joined us. We had Keith Self, the representative of Texas, and we had a number of other people, T.S. Dixon as well, the conservative analyst and author that joined us. But in the meantime, we'll stretch a little bit more here at 1:47. Producer, can you repeat that? All right, let's go to some of our sponsors in the meantime, angelpace.com. All you have to do is use the RSBN promo code. This is out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans, and also there's a number of products on that website, angelpace.com. Use the RSBN promo code for a percentage off. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so let's look at some of the big, beautiful bill, some more of the details. Again, it will finish President Trump's border wall. It also will boost Border Patrol and ICE agents on the front lines. It will protect Medicaid for Americans by kicking 1.4 million illegals off the benefits. The bill eliminates waste, fraud, and abuse by illegal immigrants who are gaming the system. These are the 20 reasons why the Senate should pass the big, beautiful bill. This is number 7 coming up. It requires able-bodied Americans to work if they receive benefits. So with 4.8 million able-bodied adults choosing not to work, the one big, beautiful bill puts work requirements in place and supports them as they find dignity through employment. It will also reverse the spending curse plaguing Washington, D.C. The legislation delivers the largest deficit reduction in nearly 30 years with $1.6 trillion in mandatory savings. So we see a lot of the different things that will happen with this big, beautiful bill. So it's already passed the House. Looking forward to it passing the Senate, getting onto President Trump's desk. This is President Trump's agenda that we, the people, of course, voted for. So this should not be really held up because we have the power in this country. We, the people, do, if we're speaking technically about the way it's supposed to be run. Looking live there right now at the White House. This is just outside the White House where the press gaggles, they call them, happen. Stephen Miller spoke there moments ago. We played that at the top of the broadcast. So just in case we see anybody step to the mic, we'll go to that live as well. All right, so number 9 out of 20, it ends taxpayer-funded sex change for minors. It reverses the Biden-era mandate that Medicaid cover the so-called gender transition procedures for minors. Number 10, it provides historic tax relief to Social Security recipients. It slashes taxes on seniors' Social Security benefits. All right, so we can continue on with that list as it's 1:49. Again, the scheduled time for the press conference about 20 minutes ago, but that's all right. We know how to stretch here most of the time at the network, but we look forward to seeing the entire speech by President Trump on the next live program here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Of course, this is an RSBN doubleheader right here, right now, live on RSBN. All right, so it'll give Americans permanent tax relief through the Trump tax cuts. If the bill doesn't pass, Americans will see the largest tax increase in history. It finally modernizes air traffic control. It ends the taxpayer-funded Green New Scam. It will incentivize Made in America. It will reward companies that build their products in America with lower taxes, AKA what's happening now, the fact that U.S. Steel is joining with Nippon Steel there, keeping U.S. Steel in this country and actually expanding from here now because of these deals that are happening thanks to President Trump. As we are about 10 minutes from the top of the hour, 2 o'clock Eastern time, getting there slowly as we await the president and Elon Musk. In the meantime, if there are any other videos, Director, that we have that we can go to, that'd be great at this point. All right, so they're going to scrounge something up for us so we can throw to it as we await the President of the United States and Elon Musk. I'll continue on with some more of the extension of coverage here as number 15, it is pro-family. The One Big Beautiful Bill increases the child tax credit, establishes MAGA accounts for newborns to start saving, and strengthens paid family leave. It would also repeal Democrats' insane attack on the gig economy. It repeals the requirement that Venmo, PayPal, and other gig transactions over $600 be reported to the IRS. It will also protect family farmers, and it's a once-in-a-generation chance to revolutionize our nation's defense capabilities and protect the homeland against new threats. It funds President Trump's Golden Dome, invests in American shipbuilding, and modernizes our military. And then it will also unleash American energy dominance. It'll boost American mineral development. So those are the top 20 reasons why the Senate should pass the big, beautiful bill and get that thing moving along to President Trump's desk as we're 9 minutes from the top of the hour. Let's do a quick check of some Truth Social posts right now. It looks like on our Truth Social, we're seeing, of course, the RSBN doubleheader, President Trump and Elon Musk to hold the press conference any minute from now. And then we'll have the Trump rally, of course, later in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. On other articles that we see on Right Side right now, Trump's economic report signals income gains and fiscal shifts. We also see that the president will honor Elon Musk in a farewell press conference. All right, so we have an interesting video, according to the producer right now, that we have of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, in Singapore, and they're telling me that he's working out. So let's go to that video.
And so I also pass a message for the president every time he wants me to let all of you know that from the Oval Office, from the White House, he has your back.
Hey!
There you go. I mean, holy smokes. I mean, I think I got stronger watching that thing. Jeez. I'll tell you, it's kind of like that when we stretch here a little bit too. When the broadcast is supposed to stop at 1:30 and go to the White House there, I feel like my mind is doing some calisthenics as we continue to stretch here for President Trump and Elon Musk. But great to see Pete Hegseth out there in Singapore working out with the military. And it's another thing that we see when it comes to our cabinet members. I mean, these are people that actually go to where the actual workers are working and doing great things, or the military, or in the case of Kristi Noem with Department of Homeland Security. We see, again, how about President Trump going to Pittsburgh today to meet with we the people, to meet with these steelworkers in Pennsylvania. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be had today in Pittsburgh. And you saw some of the military there, maybe doing some stretches and that kind of stuff. Well, that's what we're doing here, stretching, waiting for our great president and Elon Musk. Trust me, it's going to be worth the wait, especially when it's President Trump and Elon Musk at the Oval Office. So looking forward to it. And again, a shout out to all of you guys watching from around the country and all of you loyal viewers since 2015 here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All of the rallies and speeches and great moments and all the chants of USA and we love you and build the wall. And there's a few other chants. Maybe we won't go on all of them, but thank you so much for streaming in here. And today, again, Rally Day in America in Pittsburgh. So we're getting ready for that. That'll be, again, after this broadcast. We'll start a new stream up. And RSBN host Megan Kohler will be joining us and talking to us about some of the things that she sees out there in Pittsburgh, and also interviewing we the people. So look forward to that. Let's go to President Trump now.
An honor to be with Elon, who's my friend, and he's done a fantastic job. He didn't need this. He didn't need it. And we find out government's a little nasty on occasion. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, Tux. Hello, President Trump.
Government's a little bit nasty, Peter. You haven't noticed that. You've had a charmed life, right?
You tell me.
Very charmed. I think you've had a charmed life. I think what I'll do, if you don't mind, numbers have just come out which are rather extraordinary, and I thought I'd play a tape of one of the people who I've respected over the years, from Joe Kiernan and Rick Santelli. This just came out, and we'll just play that for a second.
Personal income is up 0.8%. That is almost triple the expectations. Yeah, I'll tell you that the income numbers, really, for the first 4 months of the year, they're stellar. They're really stellar. I mean, I could go back and look at the first 4 months of many different years. Really very strong numbers, and you're right. This administration is criticized for just about everything under the sun. I've never, ever in my lifetime had glimpses into the politics of an administration in the form of transparency like this one. Why don't we be, give credit where credit is due? Income really shooting up.
Rick, I also thought everybody was going to get one last order of imports that were going to be tariffed, and they were loading up on things. How the hell they already fix the trade, or not fix it, but to cut it in half? That's crazy. So there wasn't a lot of front loading of things that they needed before the tariffs hit.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it really does call into question some of the conventional wisdoms. And, it's going to be interesting to see what happens next month when we get this number, or we see some of the other numbers like current account, see how they fared. Because I don't know, I've been watching these numbers a long time. I don't think I've ever seen the trade deficit cut in half in 1 month.
Not bad. Right? Not bad.
Come on, guys.
I see Howard and Scott are here, so it's great. You guys want to stand over here? You might as well. You're the ones that help produce those numbers, and it'll only get better. The tariffs are so important, and that's why we were so happy with the decision yesterday where the tariffs continue, because without the tariffs, our nation would be imperiled. We would really be imperiled. I think I can say that with great surety, Scott and Howard. And so we were very happy to get that decision, that big decision yesterday. And today it's about a man named Elon, and he's one of the greatest business leaders and innovators the world has ever produced. He stepped forward to put his very great talents into the service of our nation, and we appreciate it. And I just want to say that Elon has worked tirelessly helping lead the most sweeping and consequential government reform program in generations. And you know the kinds of things that he's found and his people have found. He's brought a group of very smart people in, and they found things that are pretty unbelievable. I have to say that the numbers that we're talking about are substantial, but they're going to be very much more substantial with time, because many of the things that we're working on right now, we're going to have to remember Elon as we find them, but the numbers could double and triple because many things, we don't want to go out with them until we're sure, but we've found things that are unbelievably stupid and unbelievably bad. With the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon's delivered a colossal change in the old ways of doing business in Washington. Doge has installed geniuses with an engineering mindset and unbelievably talented people in computers. I actually asked Elon one time, what's their primary thing? And they have a lot of primary things, all having to do with being smart. But he said the thing that they're really the best at is working with computers, so that they can't be outsmarted by somebody that's not so honest, that happens to also be good with computers, but not as good as these people. But the mindset in the senior ranks of every federal department, and it's really changed. And with Elon's guidance, they're helping to detect fraud/waste and modernize broken and outdated systems. So as you know, we're talking about various systems and changing systems. And, you know, sadly, it takes a long time to do that. You'll change, let's say, a system at IRS and computerize it properly, where the job can be done in 1/10 the time, but it takes sometimes years to rebuild those systems. But we've started, in many cases, I will say that this has less to do with Elon, but the air traffic control systems, we're bidding out to the best companies in the world, those systems right now. They were what the previous administration was horrible what they did. They spent billions and billions of dollars, and in the end, it didn't even come close to working. They tried to hook up wire to copper, and it can't be done. And they just spent billions of dollars and just wasted money. Actually made the system much worse. So we're going to get a brand new modern system. Congress is working with us on that, and we're going to get it done as quickly as we can. But it's in the works, and once it's done, it'll be good for 30 years. But we have a system that's 48 years old and would have a modern computer hooked into a very outdated computer, and they don't hook up. I mean, they didn't hook up. So after spending billions of dollars, they turned on the system, and in never any cases, from local to countrywide, they never worked. More than 75,000 bureaucrats have voluntarily left their taxpayer-funded jobs to come out and really do the job. Countless wasteful and unnecessary contracts have been terminated, and you know that we have terminated many contracts, and many contracts, Elon, are right now being looked at. Yes. And it may be 6 months, it may be almost a year in some cases. We're going through procedures, we're going through courts, and we'll remember you as we announce billions of dollars of extra waste, fraud, and abuse. Just as an example, Doge canceled $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, $101 million, and that was just a small section of the Department of Education. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City, and the landlord never made the kind of money that he made in the last short period of time. $59 million to a hotel in New York City, $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. In Burma, does anyone know about Burma? $42 million for social and behavioral change in Uganda. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. I can say it's $2 billion to Stacey Abrams and her environmental movement. There was $100 in the account, and all of a sudden they found $2 billion in the account. And I assume that's being looked at. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I assume that's being looked at. Think of that, $2 billion. And then Lee will tell you there's another one over there for $20 billion being spent on another environmental correction. $20 billion, not 20 million, a lot, not 200,000, which is a lot. So think of it, in her case, you have $100, and now all of a sudden she gets hit with an infusion of $2 billion just before I take office. $20 million for Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. Nobody knows what that's all about. Nobody's been able to find it. $8 million for making mice transgender. So they spend $8 million on making mice transgender. And those are better than many of the others. I could sit here all day and read things just like that, but we have other things to do. So it's much, much more than just that. We're totally committed to making the DOGE cuts permanent and stopping much more of the waste in the months to come. We want to get our great, big, beautiful bill finished and done. After that, we put some of this into the bill, but most of it's going to come later. We're going to have it cauterized by Congress, affirmed by Congress. In some cases, we'll make cuts. In some cases, we'll just use it in a different layer to save the money. But it's hundreds of billions of dollars. DOGE has also fully modernized the federal retirement process and continues to work very hard on the IRS modernization. But we're taking that over with DOGE. Many of the DOGE people, Elon, are staying behind, too, so they're not leaving. And Elon's really not leaving. He's going to be back and forth, I think. I have a feeling. It's his baby, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of things. But Elon's service to America has been without comparison in modern history. He's already running one of the most innovative car companies in the world. You look at his factories and compare them with some of the old factories we have, and it's a big difference. And the most successful space company, and I guess in history you would have to say the largest free speech platform on the internet, etc. Yet Elon willingly, with all of the success, he willingly accepted the outrageous abuse and slander and lies and attacks because he does love our country. I know that very much. He loves our country. He comes from another country, a country that's going through trials and tribulations, I would say. But he's all about the USA, and Americans owe him a great debt of gratitude. So I just want to thank Elon for his time as a special government employee. Can you imagine? They call him an employee, but it's a special government employee, and for coming and helping us. And he really has changed the mindset of a lot of people. A lot of people thought, maybe we'll cut 1% or 2% or 3%. Then they said, wow, we can cut a lot more than that. And we're going to do it very surgically. We're going to continue on the march. We're making America great again. When I was in Saudi Arabia, and we were in, as you know, 3 really great countries, predominantly the 3. Qatar was great, UAE was great, Saudi Arabia, incredible. Such an incredible experience to be in those 3 countries. But the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and I must tell you, the great leaders of the other 2 that we just mentioned, they all said the same thing, that the United States is the hottest country right now anywhere in the world. And 6 months ago, we thought it was dead. It was like a dead country. And it would have been a dead country if we didn't have the right result on November 5th. It would have been a horrible, horrible situation was going on with the borders, with transgender for everyone, men playing in women's sports, and so much more. But they were saying the hottest country anywhere in the world. And then I played that little clip because I was one person who's respected, or 2 people, because Joe was in that one too. Joe's a good man. But that was one group of people saying something about the success of what we've done over the last 4 months. They cannot believe it. In the one case, they said they've never seen anything like it as long as they've been doing what they've been doing. They've been doing it for a long time. So I want to thank Elon for helping. And again, the United States right now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. There's no country as hot, and we're doing really well. When I left, we had no wars, we had no problems. We defeated ISIS, we rebuilt our military, and we had no inflation. And when I came back, we had a lot of inflation. We had wars all over the place. We had the embarrassment in Afghanistan where we gave up billions and billions of dollars of military equipment, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, I believe. I believe that strongly. We have Russia with Ukraine. We had the attack on Israel in October, the horrible attack, October 7th. Horrible, horrible attack. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And now we have something where we're really healing a lot of that. We stopped India and Pakistan from fighting. I believe that could have turned out into a nuclear disaster. And I want to thank the leaders of India, the leaders of Pakistan, and I want to thank my people also. We talked trade. And we said we can't trade with people that are shooting at each other and potentially using nuclear weapons. And they're great leaders in those countries, and they understood and they agreed. And that all stopped, and we're stopping others from fighting also, because ultimately we can fight better than anybody. We have the greatest military in the world. We have the greatest leaders in the world. We put one of them in charge of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as you know, General Raisin Kane. And we wiped out ISIS, completely wiped out ISIS in 3 weeks. They said it would take 5 years, and we did it in 3 weeks. And that's the way it is. But we don't want to have to use our military. We want to be peace through strength when we can. And that's the way we're going to have it. So I just want to thank Elon and all of his people. Most of those people are staying. Almost all of them are staying, and they're going to be with us. And you're going to see the results coming long into the future. Even a year and 2 years later, you're going to see a lot of the results. And those hundreds of billions of dollars are going to be adding up, and they're going to continue to add. It'll be interesting, really interesting to see what the final number is going to be. But again, Elon gave an incredible service. Nobody like him. And he had to go through the slings and the arrows, which is a shame because he's an incredible patriot. The good news is that 90% of the country knows that, and they appreciate it, and they really appreciate what he did. And I gave him a little special something we have here.
Thank you.
A very special, that I give to very special people. I have given it to some, but it goes to very special people, and I thought I'd give it to Elon as a presentation from our country.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you. You see the luck. The luck on this is amazing.
That's right. Large luck.
Well, let me say perhaps a few words that this is not the end of Doge, but really the beginning. My time as a special government employee necessarily had to end. It was a limited time thing. It's 134 days, I believe, which ends in a few days. So that it comes with a time limit. But the Doge team will only grow stronger over time. The Doge influence will only grow stronger. It's I liken it to sort of Buddhism. It's like a way of life. So it is permeating throughout the government. And I'm confident that over time we'll see $1 trillion of savings and a reduction in $1 trillion of waste and fraud reduction. The calculations of the Doge team thus far, in terms of an FY25 to FY26 delta, are over 160 billion, and that's climbing. We expect that number will probably go over 200 billion soon. So I think the Doge team is doing an incredible job. They're going to continue doing an incredible job, and I'll continue to be visiting here and be a friend and advisor to the president. And I look forward to times being back in this amazing room. By the way, isn't this incredible? Look at this incredible. It's stunning. I think the way that the Oval Office, how the president has just completely redone the Oval Office. It's beautiful. I love the gold on the ceiling.
Thank you. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That's been there a long time. That was plaster. Nobody ever really saw it. They didn't know the eagle was up there, and we highlighted. It's essentially it's a landmark, a great landmark, and that's 24 karat gold, and everybody loved it. And now they all see it when they come in. So it's been good.
The Oval Office finally has the majesty that it deserves, thanks to the president. So I look forward to continuing to be a friend and advisor to the president, continuing to support the Doge team. And we are relentlessly pursuing $8 trillion in waste and fraud reductions, which will benefit the American taxpayer. That's it, really. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Right.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you, President Trump. The president mentioned that you had to deal with all the slings and arrows during your time at Doge. There's this. Well, some of the people, some of the media organizations in this room were the slingers.
Well, so there is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer
I
counter.
It is.
I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times. Let's move on.
Okay, then
Next
President
question.
Trump. I got one for President Trump. So President Trump, Biden aides who used to work here are in talks with Republicans in Congress to go and testify about what they did or didn't do to possibly conceal President Biden's decline. Do you think that Dr. Jill Biden should also have to come in and testify about what she did or didn't do?
Well, I hate the concept of it. It's the wife of a man who was going through a lot of problems, and everybody that dealt with him understood that. And I guess it came out during the debate loud and clear. That was the biggest signal of all. They have to do what's right. The country was there was a lot of dishonesty in the election, as you know, 2020. That's been now caught. People understand it was a rigged election. And when you go further out, when you see the auto pen, I mean, I think the auto pen is going to become one of the great scandals of all time, because you have somebody operating it or a number of people operating. Because I knew Joe Biden. Joe Biden wasn't in favor of opening up borders, letting 21 million people into this from prisons and mental institutions and gang members. He wasn't into that at all. And you know, who signed these orders, proclamations, and all of the different things that he signed that set our country so far back, that was so bad for our country?
With the auto pen, how would it work? Like, we're in the Oval Office right now. If there was a group of rogue staffers that worked for you who wanted to advance a bill or an executive order without your knowledge, how could they do it? How do they go
Well, it's very
behind
hard,
a
because
president's
I'd
back?
read your newspapers or your media the next day, and I'd say, well, I didn't approve that, and I would find it. I mean, they wouldn't get away with it for long, because I'd say, I never signed that. Who the hell signed that? Auto pens, to me, are used to sign letters to people, because we get, I think they said 20,000 letters a week, and you like to be able, when somebody takes the time to write a letter, it's nice to sort of write back. And auto pens are meant for that. Auto pens are not meant to sign major proclamations or tax cuts or borders, anything having to do with the border, which is so important. And if it happened on my watch, I would be able to see it, because the next day or sooner I'd be reading about something that I knew nothing about, and who the hell signed this? So I almost never used the auto pen. In fact, yesterday I was signing about 81, I think it was 81 proclamations and statements to people that I think should be signed by us. I think when you write letters to foreign dignitaries or presidents or prime ministers, you should be signing those letters, not done with auto pens. I understand he signed almost everything with an auto pen. It's a very dangerous thing. It really means you're not president. Whoever operated the auto pen, and we think we know who that is, and it was actually more than one person, but that's not what the presidency is all about. I hardly used to use it.
Reinstate the tariffs on China. You said that they violated the agreement with the U.S.
Well, they did. They violated a big part of the agreement we made. You know, if you read that whole statement, I was very nice to them. I helped them because they were in trouble with the stoppage of a massive amount of business. But I'm sure that I'll speak to President Xi, and hopefully we'll work that out. But yeah, there's a violation of the agreement. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, can you give us an update to the latest ceasefire agreement that Israel has agreed to, but Hamas is still considering?
Well, they're very close to an agreement on Gaza, and we'll let you know about it during the day or maybe tomorrow, and we have a chance of that. And I think we have a chance of making a deal with Iran also. They don't want to be blown up. They would rather make a deal, and I think that could happen in the not-too-distant future. That would be a great thing if we could have a deal without bombs being dropped all over the Middle East. That would be a very good thing. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We want them to be safe. We want them to have a very, very successful nation. Let it be a great nation, but we can't have them. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. And I think we're fairly close to a deal with Iran.
Mr. Musk, a question for Elon.
Yeah, please.
You said just now that you look forward to being a friend and advisor to the president. So do you
Well, I am.
expect to continue advising the president and Doge informally, or are you going to sort of shift your focus entirely to your companies?
Well, I expect to continue to provide advice whenever the president would like advice.
I hope so.
I mean, I expect to remain a friend and an advisor, and certainly if there's anything the president wants me to do, I'm at the president's service.
Mr. Musk, on Doge, you said that there was $1 trillion promise for cuts from Doge.
Yes, I think we do expect over time to achieve the $1 trillion.
But what have you found in your time here was the biggest roadblock to getting those cuts? Was it the cabinet, or was it Congress, or something else? What was the biggest roadblock from your work?
It's mostly just a lot of hard work. It's really not any one person or Congress. It's going through really millions of line items and saying, does each one of them make sense or does it not make sense? Obviously, at times when you cut expenses, those who are receiving the money, whether they're receiving that money legitimately or not, they do complain. And you're not going to hear someone confessing that they received money inappropriately. Never. They're going to always say that they received money appropriately for an important cause. Naturally, that's what you'd expect. So we just have to. It's just a lot of work going through the vast expenses of the federal government and just really asking questions. What's this money for? Are you sure it's actually being used well? Many times we can't even find anyone who defends it. So for a lot of the expenses, there's actually no defender at all. And then we have to just work through the process of stopping the spending, where there's often literally no defender. Nobody even knows why the money's being spent. It's truly absurd. I mean, we find situations where there are millions of software licenses with 0 people using them. 0. Exactly. This is the quizzical expression. You're like, surely, if there's millions of software licenses, someone should be using them. No, and then we've got to go through the process of saying, okay, look, if no one's using the software, we can terminate this software license agreement. That's everywhere in the government, by the way.
Mr. Musk, what do you think would be easier, colonizing Mars or making the government efficient?
It's a tough call, but I think colonizing Mars and making life multiplanetary is harder. And as I said, we do expect to achieve over time the $1 trillion of savings. We can't do it in like a few months, but if you say by the official end of Doge, which the president may choose to extend, is the middle of next year. Say by the middle of next year, with the support of the president and Congress, could we achieve $1 trillion of savings? I think so. We're on track to do so.
Do you have faith that Congress is going to do
Thank you, Mr. President. You had mentioned earlier in the week that Doge had become a whipping boy, and as the president mentioned, you went through a lot to go through this process.
Yes.
Was it worth it for you, and what would you change?
Yes, so what we found was happening was that if there were any cuts anywhere, then people would assume that was done by Doge. And so we became like essentially the Doge boogeyman, where if any cut anywhere would be ascribed to Doge. A friend of mine's daughter, who's at law school at Georgetown, thought that Doge had cut the Senate, internships the legal internships for the Senate, and we have nothing to do with that. So if they have been cut, it's not to do with us. Just as an example. So it just became a bit ridiculous where any cut anywhere was somehow Doge, and including things that made no sense, and we would agree made no sense. There are many things that occur in the government because it's the banal evil of bureaucracy. It's sort of the frankly largely uncaring nature of bureaucracy. It's as the great Milton Friedman said, money is spent most poorly when it is someone else's money being spent on people you don't know, and that's how federal spending is. And then you can't really even blame the individuals because the way the government works is complaint minimization. So when you do when someone within the government tries to stop that money being spent, there's usually someone that complains, and then their manager will say it's not worth the trouble. just pay it anyway. That happens over and over again.
So was it
I think it was an important thing. I think it was a necessary thing, and I think it will have a good effect in the future.
Thank you, President Trump. This week there was a video on board a plane that showed the First Lady of France slapping her husband, Emmanuel Macron. Do you have any world leader to world leader marital advice on those phones?
Make sure the door remains closed. That was not good. No, I spoke to him, and he's fine too. They're fine. They're two really good people. I know them very well, and I don't know what that was all about, but I know them very well, and they're fine.
What do you think about this Democratic Party plan to avoid being swept in every battleground state again by spending $20 million to study how to speak to American men?
Well, you know, they spent $2.8 billion. We spent 1.5. We spent much less. We spent about half of what they spent, and at the end they were $28 million short. They had to be. They spent $2.8 billion. It's a lot, but they couldn't get $28 million at the end, and now they want to spend. I read that they want to spend money to learn how to talk. That's fake. You don't want to be fake. You shouldn't have to hire consultants to say what America needs, because then the consultants should be running the deal, not them. But I read that they want to spend a lot of money in each state. So we won all 7 swing states, 7 out of 7. We won a lot more than that. We won the popular vote. We won everything, and they want to spend money to find out what they did wrong. And I mean, I could tell you what they did wrong. I could tell you every one of their programs. When they say men playing in women's sports, I would say that's not a winner. When they say transgender for everybody, I think that's not a winner. When they say open borders so the entire world's population of criminals can pour into our country, I don't think that's a winner. I mean, I just gave them that for free, but I don't know if they'll change their ways. I see them all the time. I see people that I know in Congress, Democrats, they're trying to justify some of the things I just said. You can't justify them. I always hear they're 80-20 issues. I say they're not 80-20, they're 97-3. They might be 99-1. They're not 80-20. They wish they were 80-20. And they're wasting a lot of money if they're going to continue with that nonsense.
And this one's a little bit more of a page 6 question, but back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it. I think some people have been very close to asking. First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. It's different. You become a much different person when you run for politics and you do what's right. I could do other things, and I'm sure he'd like me, and I'm sure other people would like me, but it wouldn't be as good for our country. As we said, our country's doing really well because of what we're doing. So it's not a popularity contest. So I don't know. I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Mr. President, on the big beautiful bill, would you like to see the Senate build in some support for your tariffs on the big beautiful bill, or should that be a standalone bill?
I have great support on the tariffs. I mean, I was so honored that we got that ridiculous stay lifted, because that would have taken away presidential power. It would have taken away everything that was granted by the founders. It would have been a terrible thing. And it would have, most importantly, left us vulnerable. We have a lot of countries that use tariffs on us and use them viciously, viciously. And if we didn't have the power to use tariffs on them, and instantly, not when you go back to Congress and try and get hundreds of people to agree on something, that would take months to get just one simple proclamation. If we didn't have the power to counteract their powers, you wouldn't have a country left. We have to act fast. We have to be fast and nimble, as they say. And that was a really great moment, I think, yesterday when that stay was lifted. And hopefully now we'll go to court and just win that battle. Because if we don't have the power to do what they're doing to us, we are going to be a great nation no longer.
Elon Musk was once idolized by folks on the left in this country before joining your administration. Now he's considered a hero by conservatives. Why do you think this man, what he's done in American life, has been so politicized? Does it only have to do with you?
His life has been amazing. I mean, I look at so many different things. I look at that rocket being, guided back into position. I've never seen that before. I thought it was a space movie. I thought it was a movie. You look at what he's done in terms of communication. It's been unbelievable. So many different, even tunnels going underground, not having to go through all the process of going, he's got a company that does that. He's got so many different companies. Starlink, as an example. He saved a lot of lives, probably hundreds of lives in North Carolina. I don't even know if you remember, but I called you. They needed Starlink in North Carolina. And I didn't know what the hell Starlink was. I said, what is it? Who owns it? He said, do you know Elon Musk? I said, yeah, I happen to know the gentleman. This was before his government stay. And they said, we really need it because North Carolina became an island. It was, people had no communication. They had no access to anything, and they were dying. And I called up Elon, and you can't get it because it's so successful. It's very hard to get. And he had so much of it brought over there, and they told me it was unbelievable. It saved a lot of lives. So, he's just done a lot of things. I don't think he gets credit for what he's done. But he's a very good person too. You know what? If he wasn't a good person, but he did the same things, I'd probably maybe speak differently. He happens to be a really good person who loves the country.
On the one big, beautiful bill, you had indicated this week that there were some things you didn't like about what had passed in the House. What changes do you want to see the Senate make? And you had also indicated there were things you didn't like about the bill. What would you be suggesting he push senators to change in their version?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go first. It's an unbelievable bill. It cuts your deficits. It cuts, it's a huge cutting. But there's the things I'd like to see maybe cut a little bit more. I'd like to see a bigger cut in taxes. It's going to be the largest tax decrease or cut in the history of our country. I'd like to see it get down to an even lower number. I was shooting for a slightly lower number. I would have liked to have done that. But with all of that being said, when you look at the tax cut and the fact that the original tax cut, which made us so successful, we had the most successful 4 years in the history of our country, the economy, and this is going to be even better. And you see that by the reports that came out just yesterday or tonight. I guess they were released this morning at 8 o'clock. You see the kind of numbers where somebody that's a pro is like, whoa, I haven't seen numbers like this since I've been doing this. These are human emotions of professionals that have never seen numbers like, and we've just started. The bill is a great bill. It's going to be jiggered around a little bit. It's going to be negotiated with the Senate, with the House. But the end result is it extends the Trump tax cuts. If it doesn't get approved, you'll have a 68% tax increase. You're going to go up 68%. That's a number that nobody's ever heard of before. You'll have a massive tax increase. If it does get approved, you'll have a large tax cut, the largest we've ever had. When you add the past tax cuts that we got you, the Trump tax, they call them the Trump tax cuts. It's an amazing bill. It does amazing things. With all of that, it's going to be adjusted a little bit over the next coming weeks, and I think it's going to be passed. The Republicans want to pass it. With all of the great things it does, including an extension of debt, it's the extension. We have to extend the debt. If we don't extend debt, we're in default. Now, the Democrats might like our country to be in default, but in 250 years, we've never been in default. That was handed to them by a very well-meaning man that gave it to them because he thought it was the right thing to do. It could have been their problem before the election, but this man thought it was the right thing to do, and he was well-meaning. I don't hold anything against him for that, but that was put on our plate when it should have been on the Democrats. September 28th, a famous date. It should have been taken care of by the Democrats, but this person, a man of power, gave it to us so that in June that comes due. Well, we have to take care of that because if we don't take care of it, we have a country in default, and we don't ever want to have a country in default. I'll tell you, a certain senator, Elizabeth Warren, said that she would never, ever allow a default on our debt. She would never let it happen. And she would like to get rid of the debt ceiling, what's called the debt ceiling. I call it the debt extension because we really need an extension. That she'd like to see that gotten rid of. And there are many people that agree. Many Democrats agree with that. But we gave that through, and I don't want to say an error. He did it well-meaning. They gave that to us. It was a Democrat problem just before the election. Would have had a huge impact on the election. And to our benefit, we won anyway, but to our benefit. But felt that really for the good of the country, we should extend that. But Elizabeth Warren and various other people would like to see that. Her whole career, she wanted to see it terminated, gotten rid of, not being voted on every 5 years or 10 years. And the reason was because it's so catastrophic for our country. And I always agreed with her. That was one thing I agreed with her on. Now, I haven't spoken to her, but I would say that if you asked her that question now, she'd say, no, it's their problem. But it's a very unfortunate situation. It's a very unfair situation. And she happened to be right on that. It should be gotten rid of, or it should simply be extended. But that's one of the things that gets taken care of in this bill. That automatically gets extended for a 4-year period, and it should be. But I agree with Elizabeth Warren on that. I think you should get rid of it. It's too catastrophic. Yeah, please, go ahead.
What message do you like to send to international students? Are they still welcomed to study in the United States? And one question for Mr. Musk.
The students? Well, we want to have great students here. We just don't want students that are causing trouble. We want to have students. I want to have foreign students. I think Harvard, it's close to 31%. That's a lot. Our country has given $5 billion plus to Harvard over a short period of time. Nobody knew that. We found that out. I wouldn't say that was a Doge thing, but we found that out over a period of time. That was sort of a Trump thing. We ended up in litigation for other reasons because they're very anti-Semitic. And in finding out and in going through the books, we found out that the country gave them $5 billion plus, much more than that, actually. And we're having it out with them, and let's see what happens. I think we have a very good, it's a very sad case. It's a case we win. We can't lose that case because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make any grants like that. But I don't think Harvard's been acting very nicely. I think Columbia wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And there are other institutions, too, that are acting, but Harvard's trying to be a big shot. And all that happens is every 3 days we find another $100 million that was given. 2 days ago we found $200 million more. The money's given to them like gravy. I'd like to see the money go to trade schools where people learn how to fix motors and engines, where people learn how to build rocket ships. Because, somebody has to build those rocket ships.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see trade schools set up because you could take $5 billion plus hundreds of billions more, which is what's spent. Absolutely. And you could have the greatest trade school system anywhere in the world. And that's what we need to build his rockets and robots and things that he's doing and to build lots of other things. And, I went to school with people. In some cases, they weren't good students, but they could fix the engine of a car better than anybody I've ever seen. They could take it apart blindfolded. They had an ability at that. And they did very well. They made a lot of money. It's a very skilled job. It's great. But I'd like to see a lot of money going into trade schools. I've always felt that. And we probably found our pot of gold, and that's what's been wasted at places like Harvard. And the money's been wasted. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I wanted to ask quickly, Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to your eye? I noticed there was a bruise there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France, so.
What does that mean?
No,
I didn't notice it.
First Lady of France.
Slapped,
I didn't notice.
I was just horsing around with little X, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually does.
That was X that did?
Yeah.
X could do it. If you knew X,
I saw his mom right now. But I didn't really feel much at the time, and then I guess it bruises up. But I was just horsing around with the kids.
I didn't notice it actually.
President Trump, I got one. I know that you try to stay pretty neutral because not your war, but
And by the way, Not my war. I just want to solve the problem for people. This was not a war that was going to happen if I were president.
Right, and so, not your war, but as you try to fix it, and as you survey this hellscape of the Ukrainian front lines.
It's horrible.
And you and your team deal with a very stubborn Vladimir Putin.
Yeah.
Do you
and
Zelensky. Yeah. But do you look at this
very
conflict
Zelensky too.
any differently now? Like, do you look at this and see Putin as the good guy or the bad guy?
So I've known him very well, and I went through a lot of things with him because Russia was, the Russia hoax turned out to be a total hoax. New York Times, they got a Pulitzer Prize. They have to give back the Pulitzer Prize. That's my lawsuit, and they're doing very poorly in that lawsuit. But they wrote stories about how it was true and it was false, and a lot of Washington Post also. I have gotten to see things that I was very surprised at. Rockets being shot into cities like Kiev during a negotiation that I felt was maybe very close to ending. We were going to solve a problem, and then all of a sudden rockets got shot into a couple of cities and people died. I saw things that I was surprised at. And I don't like being surprised. So I'm very disappointed in that way. With that being said, I'd like to see it end. 5,000 people, I think the number's even more than that, but 5,000 people a week are being killed. Mostly soldiers, but also people that live in little cities and towns throughout Ukraine. And I'd like to see that stop.
And I asked Caroline this yesterday, but I want to ask you directly. So many of the things that you're trying to do are held up in court right now. If the courts are going to have so much influence over U.S. policy, do you wish you would have just become a judge instead?
Yeah, well, look, it wasn't meant to be that way. If you look at the founders, the president had certain powers, and you have your three groups, and they all had supposed to be pretty equal powers. But you can't have a judge in Boston running foreign policy in places all over the country because he's got a liberal bent or he's a radical left person. That's what the executive branch is for, and you have checks and balances. But we had millions of people pour into our country, many criminals poured into our country, murderers, mental institutions from all over the world being emptied out into our country. And if we don't get them out and get them out quickly, could lose your country very easily. This is a bad, that anybody would allow this to happen to our country. With all of the things, we took over inflation, we took over some wars, we took over a lot of problems that didn't exist when I was president. None of it existed. We wiped out ISIS. Other than that, we had no wars. Putin was never going to hit Ukraine. Israel would have never been attacked. That attack, as you know, Iran had no money. They didn't have money for Hamas. They didn't have money for Hezbollah. They had no money whatsoever. That wasn't going to happen. All of these things that happened weren't going to happen. You wouldn't have had inflation. So it's very sad when I came back. But the thing that is the hardest is that they allowed 21 million people into our country, and many of those people are stone-cold criminals. They moved their criminal population into the United States, and of all the things that are bad, I solved inflation, I believe, already. I got the fuel prices down. The fuel prices came down. That's one of the reasons. They screwed up the energy. They screwed up the cost of gasoline and oil and gas. And you had tremendous inflation, the greatest inflation probably in the history of our country under Biden. And when people said, "Oh, but the economy was," no, the economy was terrible for the people because they couldn't afford the energy, and the energy brought everything else up. Energy is the big deal. But with all of that, we solved that already. In 4 months, we solved it. $1.99, $1.98 gasoline. First time people have seen that in a long time since my term. But the hardest thing to solve is millions of people pouring into our country, many of whom are criminals. Because remember, these countries are smart. Their leaders are very street smart. They're sending the people that they don't want. They don't want the people that are there, that are law-abiding, that are productive, that are working hard. They want people that are in jails. We have them. They allow them to come in. And I always look to the other side, like, why would somebody do something? In business, I try and study, why would they want to do this? Why would they want to sell it? Why would they want to buy it? one thing I can't figure out is what would an administration, what were they thinking when they allowed millions of people from prisons all over the world, not just from South America, Venezuela, all over the world, from the Congo in Africa, hundreds of people, thousands of people from the Congo, rough prisoners, from Asia, from Europe, rough parts of Europe. Why would they allow them to come into our country? Why would they do that? It's the one thing I can't figure out. And I don't believe it was Joe Biden. I really don't. I mean, look, he's been a sort of a moderate person over his lifetime, not a smart person, but a somewhat vicious person, I will say. If you feel sorry for him, don't feel so sorry because he's vicious. What he did with his political opponent and all of the people that he hurt a lot of people, Biden. And so I really don't feel sorry for him. But he wasn't a person that would allow murderers to come into our country. He wasn't a person that was in favor of transgender for anybody that wanted it, take kids out of families, et cetera, et cetera. So I just don't understand why a thing like this, how a thing like this could have been allowed to happen. Very sad. It's very sad for our country.
If I could add something. I think the fundamental moral flaw of the left is empathy for the criminals and not empathy for the victims. Empathy for the criminals, but not empathy for the victims. And there's been way too much of that. That needs to stop. To the President's point, there's been immense judicial overreach that is unconstitutional. That was never intended. And it's undermining the people's faith in the legal system. It needs to stop. It's gone too far.
Mr.
And just today, we had, just a couple of hours ago, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court, thank goodness, that was very important. We had two important decisions yesterday on the tariffs because, again, we have to be able to fight a fair fight with other countries. Howard, would you say? We have to be able to use tariffs to fight people that use tariffs on us. I mean, if we didn't have that power of tariffs, we would economically be destroyed as a country because they will destroy us. Other countries will destroy us with unchecked tariffs. We can check them when we have the use. They tried to take that power away from us. And if you take that power away, we're not going to have a country. We won't have an economically viable country. But it's very important on immigration that we be able to get people out without having to go through a long court case. I mean, it was up to some of these judges. Every single one of these millions of people, criminals, prisoners that were let go from jails because they save a fortune when they do. They brought them into the United States. You know what they're saving? The money they're saving? But some of murderers, it's very important that we're able to get those people out of here fast, bring them back to their country where they belong. And those countries take them because if they don't take them, they have to go through the wrath of the United States, and they take them. But we have judges that don't want that to happen, and it's a terrible thing. That's going through the court system right now, that whole situation. But when ICE and with Border Patrol, they've done an incredible job. When they do this incredible job and they capture 100 killers and drug dealers, and we can't keep them for years here as we go through trials. We have to get them out rapidly, and we know who they are. And we're very careful about who they are, but we have to get them out rapidly, or again, we're not going to have a country. Okay? Maybe one or two more. Go ahead.
Are you concerned that tariff may also affect companies like Tesla, which has parts manufactured abroad? And this is also to you, Mr. Musk.
Well, he's going to end up building his whole car here. I mean, I thought he built his whole car. Pretty much he does. He's got incredible factories, and like I looked at one in Texas. It's unbelievable. No, all of the manufacturers will build their parts here too. I mean, it used to bother me. They make a part in Canada, a part in Mexico, a part in Europe, and it's sent all over the place, and nobody knew what the hell was happening. I think it's ridiculous. You build a car, make it in America, and I gave them a little leeway on that. Gave them some leeway. But over the next year, they've got to have the whole thing built in America. That's what we want. We want America to buy American-built cars. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys.
How was your meeting with Jerome Powell?
Thanks, guys.
Good meeting.
Thank you, guys.
It was a good meeting.
Are you considering? Thanks, guys. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Let's go straight out here. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
You are watching RSBN Live in Washington, D.C., now looking 245 miles to the west in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for Rally Day in America. RSBN host Megan Kohler will join us there live shortly. Really looking forward to hearing from we the people outside of that venue, and also we'll be live right there inside as President Trump will now board Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews, fly that 245 miles to Pittsburgh, specifically West Mifflin, Pennsylvania, for this great speech at U.S. Steel. This all brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. It's all about gold and silver as a backup plan for your tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold. You get that free info kit in the mail, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN as well. If you'd like to save upwards of 20% off of essential medications, you can do so. You see that information right there on your screen. Whether it's ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, or some of the basics like amoxicillin or penicillin, you can all get it there. Allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Two great sponsors, many more to come here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez here live. Now it's time to end this broadcast, end this stream. The new stream is starting up at about a few minutes from now. So go ahead and check it out on Rumble and wherever you're watching social media platforms of RSBN channels. Thank you so much for doing so. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, once again, go ahead and check out the next stream live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, as it's Rally Day in America. We'll see you over there.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.